Welcome to Identity Matters with Dr. Kathleen Perry. Join in to explore one of life's big questions. Who am I really? The Identity Matters podcast will show you that you are and always have been innately whole and worthy just as you are. So slow down, relax, and enjoy the show.
Welcome back to Identity Matters. In today's episode, I'm going to talk to you about an idea or, kind of a little exercise that I call the mirror. And you may have heard of something like this before as well. So maybe this will be a little different take. In this mirror experience, seeing yourself through a mirror really can dissolve triggers. So there's something that I've noticed, and it's kind of relating to the field of psychology and also really just in the way that life actually seems to work. And once you see it, you will not be able to unsee it. It's this way that life keeps introducing us to the parts of ourselves that we haven't fully met. And quite often, it does that through other people. So I was at lunch recently with a friend, and she sort of leaned in and said very quietly to me, "I feel terrible admitting this, but I'm jealous of one of my coworkers." And I could hear the shame in her voice. So I said, "Okay, let's just slow this down a little bit. Are you really jealous, or are you envious? Because those two are not the same thing. Jealousy has more to do with the fear of losing something that you already have. It's contractive and it's protective. Envy is different. Envy is sort of when you want something that someone else has. Jealousy is when you say, "Ooh, I might lose something." And envy is when you say, "I want that." So as we tease these two apart, with her, something softened. Because once we named it envy and not jealousy, her shame really started to dissolve. So envy is not proof that you're small. And if you're human, my suspicion is that you felt that. It's actually proof that you're recognizing something. And so this conversation with my friend is what sparked this episode. Because what we see in other people, whether it's envy or irritation, is almost always a mirror. So there's an activation. Something activates you. Now, you might have heard it called a trigger. Whatever word works for you. I don't know why. I don't like trigger, but it feels to me like something activates something in me. And the activation isn't random. You'll notice it in your body. Something will sort of tighten in your chest. Or if you're speaking, your tone will change. Your thinking may speed up. And that's not accidental. Because if what you were seeing was truly foreign, if it was outside of your range, your human range, it would pass right on by you. You wouldn't notice it. But when it sticks, it's because you're recognizing something. And there's something about this that feels bigger than just psychology to me. Because if we're not as separate as we think, if we truly are expressions of the same life force, just showing up in different forms, then of course whatever I see in you has to exist in me. It's like different human forms, but the same underlying life, the same underlying energy, life force. So let's slow down for a minute. And if you want to join with me, that would be great. Think of someone recently who activated you. And I always suggest when we do these exercises, we do them together and you're just trying something for the first time. Don't pick the biggest one, a big thing. Choose something small. So take a moment and see if you can think of a person that somehow triggered or activated you. but it wasn't a biggie, something mild. So perhaps they interrupted you. That one's, I'm getting better at letting that one go, but that one I find really irritating. Maybe someone posted something and it just lingered around with you for a while. It kind of spiraled around in your head or in your body. Maybe someone's tone of voice was not what you were expecting. So let that person and perhaps what they said or did come to mind. And as you remember that, notice what happens in your body without trying to fix anything, without trying to analyze anything. Just notice the sensation. Do you feel like a kind of a gut wrench? Do your shoulders sort of tighten up? Do you notice your breathing's a little shallow? Maybe there's a little more warmth in your body. Just notice whatever that shift is, because that's the doorway in. So what I want to talk about first is envy, and I'm going to call that the golden mirror. It's kind of the gentler side of this mirror exercise. So envy. You may envy something in someone, like their confidence or their sense of ease or freedom in their life, or leadership, or their visibility in the world, or their steadiness. And that envy is not what we think it is. Quite often we think, oh, they have that and I don't. But I say the opposite. That recognition of you seeing it in them is actually proof of resonance. You can't envy what's not in your field. Envy is just the recognition without the ownership. So it's like your system is saying to you, hey, that quality lives in here too, but somehow you've minimized it. And it could be that, at some point you were told you're just too much. Or you have constructed an identity and it doesn't match. But it's there. It's in there. So instead of shaming yourself for envy, just ask, and this is the cool part of the mirror exercise, ask yourself, what is the slightest version of that is already alive in me? And don't look for the big one, the dramatic one. That's what it might look in them. Might look like a big deal in them. Look for something really small in you. So, for example, if you envy someone's boldness, where have you been bold? Maybe in just a quiet way. You spoke up for yourself. Or maybe you envy someone's leadership. Well, maybe they're, the CEO of a large corporation, but you have influence, even something subtle in your family. So we're not trying to become someone else. All we're doing here, and I don't want to minimize it, we're recognizing yourself. That's the golden mirror. So before you kind of rush off to try to improve yourself, just sit with that for a minute. What you see in them is in you. Otherwise, you couldn't recognize it. It would be foreign to you. What if nothing is missing? What if there's something in you, that small little inkling of that thing that you envy, that's just waiting to be acknowledged? Just sit with that and let that land. So here's the harder mirror. I'm going to say irritation. So it's like something irritates you, or a judgment often comes along with it. I find myself saying, oh, I would never, ... So here's an example. Recently, I was sitting with a client, and she was describing this colleague that she said absolutely drove her crazy. And she said, he's so arrogant. He dominates meetings. He talks over people. He acts like he's the smartest person in the room. And I could feel the activation in her body. So I said gently, okay, not the blatant version, but let's look for the very slightest teeny iota of aversion in you. Where in your life do you feel the need to be right or interrupt just a little or dismiss someone, even if it's just internally? I used to do that a lot. Where do you feel just a flicker, sliver of superiority? And at first, it seemed to be like she was resisting a little bit. And then she paused and she said to me, well, I do interrupt my sister when I think she's wrong. There it was. Not on the same scale of the arrogant person at work, but the same energy. And so when she saw it, and without shame, her body softened. Because she wasn't fighting arrogance anymore. She just recognized that that's a shared human move. So in this case of the harder mirror, we're not trying to disown any part of ourselves. But when you see it in them and it activates you, and then you see it in yourself, your body can settle down. It's human. We just realize we're all human. I've noticed that forgiveness comes, judgment drops away when I do that mirror exercise. Something in them activates something in me, and I look for it in me, and so many things just soften. I can judge them less. I find it easier to begin to forgive myself and them. And it's not because we're trying to be noble. It just happens. Automatically, the charge drops. So there's a sneaky part to all of this. And it's something that's been humbling for me. The identity doesn't disown only what looks ugly. It can also suppress, quietly, something that feels powerful. It's not like dramatic self-sabotage. It's maybe just a subtle shrinking or subtle comparison or subtle minimizing. We tend to push away things that we dislike, but we also dampen things that might expand us. And that shows up in envy. So this actually happened to me yesterday. I was talking to a coach friend of mine who was sharing the dramatic shift that she had with one of her clients. And I noticed something really subtle coming up in me. Really, again, it was just that little flicker. But there was this quiet thought that said something like, I don't know, it wasn't even words, but I could feel the meaning of it. Oh, that looks really big. Yeah, that's impressive. She's been coaching for a long, long time. And underneath it, I felt that contraction just a little bit. For me, it was a little tightening around my heart. And when I paused for a minute, I realized I was equating her impact with something that had to do with an identity that I put on her. Oh, she's been coaching for 30 years, longer than me. And in that moment, I saw what I was creating, this comparison. And when I saw it, the comparison just dissolved, because impact doesn't happen only in coaches that have been coaching for 30 years. And the fact that I recognized what a good coach she was and that powerful impact she had on that client she was describing, I realized that's in me. I create that kind of impact. Maybe it looks a little bit smaller, but actually it's not really. So the mirror wasn't telling me about anything that I lacked. It was actually showing me where for a brief moment I had just narrowed the definition of impact. And once it widened, then the contraction just released in my body. So I love how this really points to our shared humanity, because when you see the mirror clearly, hierarchy kind of softens or even disappears. We discover that we're not above anyone and we're not below anyone. We're in this. We're in the same shared humanity. And if we're not as separate as we think, if we really are a variety of unique expressions of this same life showing up, then every interaction is a reflection. Not a threat, not a competition, but an invitation to see our shared humanity. So I want to make sure that this mirror exercise is not taken in any way as self-blame, or if anyone is harming you, you don't want to say, well, yeah, that's just my shadow. Because boundaries matter, discernment matters, your safety matters. The mirror is not about excusing behavior. I know you know this, but saying it again. It's just about reclaiming your reaction. Instead of feeling or saying to yourself, they made me feel this, it becomes this activation I'm feeling, it belongs to me. And then it becomes a lens for this inner freedom. So this week, I invite you to just notice, as I do often, when someone activates you, or triggers you, pause if you can, and ask yourself the question, where is the slightest version of that already in me? Or when envy arises, if it does this week, and it doesn't even necessarily have to be something big. Just something that you admire and someone and you think, yeah, me too. Where does that quality already exist? Where is it already alive in you? Because it is. It absolutely is. You would not recognize it in the other if it wasn't already in you. It'd be like somebody speaking German and you don't understand German. You wouldn't get it. But if you speak English and they're speaking English, then you recognize it because it is you. So there's nothing to fix. There's no need to attack yourself or diminish yourself for envy. Realize it's an invitation. Life is going to keep introducing us to the parts of ourselves that we haven't fully met. How cool is that? Sometimes it's going to be through irritation, a trigger, an activation, and you'll feel it in your body. Sometimes it's going to be through admiration, and sometimes it's going to be through longing. Maybe that's a better word when we think about envy. You're just longing for something, but it's already there. Especially when we remember that we are expressions of this same life force, just showing up in different forms. When we remember that, we realize the mirror is everywhere. And every reflection is an opportunity. Not to become someone else, but just to recognize more of who you truly are. You'll become wider, more expanded, steadier, and actually less reactive. Because it sort of starts to just, I don't know, for me, really quickly, almost goes on autopilot. I get a little activated, and then I've done this so many times that I kind of just go, oh yeah, me too. Me too. Sometimes I just say that, me too. I don't even think of a specific, where is that little version in me? I just know it, because if I take the time to think, I'll find it. So sometimes I do that. Just I'm irritated or something's activated me by something someone did or said or didn't do or whatever, that judgment comes up and I just go, oh yeah, me too. There's something like that in me. So I don't know, it creates just this more open-heartedness and less judgment. I like that too. And from that place, that way of being, something deeper will land. So I'll see you next time. With much love. Namaste. Thank you for listening to Identity Matters. I hope you found this episode insightful. If you're ready to delve further into this journey of self-discovery and uncover your innate wholeness, I invite you to consider one-on-one coaching with me. Together, we can explore the unique challenges and opportunities in your life or your business or both. And through that exploration, help you align with your true self. To learn more about my coaching services, visit drkathleenperry.com/services.